Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a plan that is, frankly, so audacious, it aims to reverse ecological collapse on a global scale. And the starting point for this massive undertaking? Well, it's not some high-tech lab or a global summit. It all starts in the soil and water of America's greatest river, the Mississippi. You know, this single sentence says it all. It's more than just a mission statement, it's practically a declaration of intent. The vision is to heal a river, revive an entire gulf, and use that success to unite a global network of nations. And yeah, that is a huge claim, but trust me, the plan behind it is even bigger.
So the core idea here is to create a blueprint for regeneration that isn't just a one-off project. No, this is a system that's designed to be copied, pasted, and scaled across the entire planet, all tracked by one single transparent system. So, you might be wondering, how do you actually take an idea this big and make it real? Okay, let's dive into it.
All right, so the whole global vision, it all kicks off right here with a tangible, hands-on plan. We're talking about healing the ecological and economic lifeline of North America. This is not just theory, folks. This is about concrete actions in a very specific place, all designed to get measurable results.
Okay, so it all starts on the land with this really powerful three-step process. First, you plant industrial hemp, which is just fantastic at soaking up nasty nitrates from overworked soil. Then, you take that hemp and you turn it into something called biochar. Just think of it as a kind of supercharged charcoal. And finally, you work that biochar right back into the earth. Now, what does that do? Well, it locks away carbon for centuries and acts like a giant sponge, stopping pollutants from ever getting into the river in the first place.
And this is where it gets really clever, because the plan moves from the soil directly into the water. Before the river can even think about reaching the ocean, it's funneled through these incredible engineered natural systems. You can think of them as high-tech kidneys for the river. These bioreactor farms and special wetlands are placed at key points to literally suck up the nitrogen and phosphorus, all that stuff that creates the Gulf of Mexico's infamous dead zone. It's an ecological filter, but on an industrial scale.
Now, the numbers they're projecting for just this first project in the U.S. are just staggering. We're talking about restoring 5 million acres of farmland by 2030. Just to give you some perspective on that, that's an area larger than the entire state of New Jersey.
And remember that biochar process we just talked about? Well, that's expected to pull 250 million tons of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. That's a massive amount of CO2 that's not warming our planet, but instead is locked away safely in the soil.
The impact on the ocean itself is just as profound. The plan is to shrink that oxygen-starved dead zone in the Gulf by 60% in just 5 years. I mean, that's like hitting the rewind button on decades of environmental damage, bringing a huge stretch of the ocean back to life.
And this part is absolutely crucial. This isn't just an environmental plan, it's an economic engine. It's designed to create over 200,000 new jobs in communities that really need them. From the farms growing the hemp to the crews managing the restoration. It's about healing the planet and creating good jobs at the exact same time.
Okay, next up, how to clone America, taking the Mississippi model to the world. So you've proved the concept. You've shown you can regenerate soil, clean up a river, and create a ton of jobs. The obvious next question is, great, now how do we do this everywhere else? Let's get into the expansion plan. And the answer is, you don't just wing it. There's a really clear 3-phase pathway. First, you prove the model works in the US, and you codify everything. Basically, you write the instruction manual. Then, phase 2, you deploy hubs in other critical river basins around the world. And we're talking about huge vital systems, like Nigeria's Niger Delta, Pakistan's Indus Basin, and India's Ganga Basin. And finally, phase 3, you integrate that framework across all 56 Commonwealth nations. So it's a really smart, structured rollout. Not just some wild gamble.
All right, let's talk about the money. Section 3, the global finance engine. Or, how in the world do you pay for all of this? Because let's be real, an operation this big, scaling across dozens of countries, needs a totally new way of thinking about finance. You can't just rely on the old ways.
So at the heart of the financial system is this really clever idea, the Global Resource Unit, or GRU for short. What's so cool about this is that it takes a positive outcome, like say locking away a ton of carbon, and it turns it into a measurable, verifiable, and tradable digital token. Just think about it like this. It's kind of like a stock, but instead of buying a piece of a company, you're buying a piece of a healthier planet. It gives regeneration a real, tangible value. And this value is managed by two distinct but connected parts. On one side, you've got the GRIG, You can think of it as the financial scoreboard. It's the referee that tracks all the good stuff happening on the ground, verifies it, and then it creates those GRU tokens. Then on the other side, you've got the CRF. That's the engine. It's the fund that takes in capital and actually invests in the projects. And here's the best part. It reinvests its profits to build even more hubs. It's a cycle that actually feeds itself.
And we are not talking about small change here. The goal is to have $250 billion in verified regenerative value flowing through this system by 2030. Yeah, you heard that right. To put that into perspective, that's more than the entire GDP of some countries, all of it dedicated to healing the planet.
Okay, last big piece of the puzzle. One system to guide it all. The global rulebook and scoreboard. So you've got the plan and you've got the money, but how do you make sure everyone's playing by the same rules? How do you know a project in Nigeria is being measured the exact same way as one in Fiji? And yeah, that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because without a consistent standard, a global plan like this can fall apart fast. It's the difference between a real global movement and just a collection of good intentions.
Well, the answer is you create one single, unified system to govern everything. It's called the Global Resource Management System, or GRM. This is the project's universal rulebook. Its central operating system. It's basically the referee for the whole game, making sure that a ton of carbon locked away in India is measured and valued the exact same way as a ton locked away in the US. It is the single source of truth for the entire network.
And what's really cool is how this all works from the ground up. They set up these local hubs that act like, get this, data embassies. So they're on the ground, collecting and verifying all this super important local data on soil health, carbon, water quality, and then they feed that information back to the central grid using the same standardized rulebook as everyone else. It's a decentralized network that powers a centralized, verifiable system.
So the most important thing to get is that this isn't one organization trying to do everything. It's a strategic partnership. It's basically a dream team for fixing the planet. You've got MIPP, they're the rule makers. You've got the REEN hubs, they're the local operators on the ground. Then there's Terraform Ventures, the builders who deploy the tech, and finally, the Commonwealth, which provides the global network for it all to grow in. Everybody has their job, and they all fit together perfectly.
And when you put all of this together, the blueprint, the money, the governance, the 10-year forecast is just mind-blowing. Check this out. 1 billion tons of CO2 sequestered, 100 million hectares of land regenerated, and 2.5 million new jobs created. The scale is so massive, it's honestly hard to wrap your head around.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, it's that this isn't just some hopeful vision. This is a structured, data-driven, and finance-backed plan to take a successful local model and systematically export it to the world. It's all about creating a system you can replicate to heal the planet one river basin at a time.
And so that leaves us with one last massive question. We've seen how ambitious this is, how detailed the plan is from top to bottom, but the ultimate question remains. Can a solution designed for one of America's great rivers truly scale up to become the blueprint that heals our global oceans? Well, I guess only time, a whole lot of data, and a whole lot of biochar will tell.